Hello, and thank you for joining us today. We have a lot of things to share with you. My name is Mark Traster, and I'm Vice President of App Dev and Deployment for Progress and Telerik. And I'm joined by John Bristow today, who's Principal Developer Advocate. So let's jump right in. First of all, we'd like to entice you for your attendance today and thank you for attending. We have some great prizes, and those prizes will be awarded to the participants that pose the best questions. So please use the question capability or the chat capability as part of the webinar to share those questions with us. We'll respond to you individually, and then after the presentation is over, we'll open it up for Q&A. So these are the prizes, and fire your questions away. So, as IT leaders and as business leaders, we have a tremendous opportunity with mobile. But we have a lot on our plates. We not only have to support our existing systems, but we need to develop new applications. And increasingly, our users and customers are expecting a mobile experience. But it's difficult to address everything that they need. On top of that, we have different ways to engage with mobile. The opportunity with mobile is not small, it is very large, and it covers a number of different use cases. We can effectively or more effectively connect with customers and prospects. We can modernize existing internal applications. So mobile is not always about B to C, it's about B to E or B to B. And so being able to use mobile to help employees be more effective and to meet their expectation in terms of the user experience is also important, not only for consumer-facing applications, but for internal applications as well. And as technology leaders, we're always looking to use technology to drive innovation. And what better way to drive innovation and to transform and reimagine our business than to do it with mobile so that you're not tied to a desktop, and to do it across different types of mobile devices. So before we get into our take on how to quickly build mobile applications, let's take a look at what we're seeing in terms of the industry trends. We've conducted a lot of research. We did some research with IDG, and we also had in-person interviews with about 30 or 40 different CIO types at a variety of different events, both in Atlanta and in San Francisco. So let's take a look at what we've learned. Not surprisingly, IT is struggling to meet the expectations of their users. This is not an indictment of IT. It's just that the expectation of the user and the requirements for new applications and systems is off the charts. And so being able to support everything that they need to do in addition to mobile is just very difficult to do. So we're seeing a large number of development managers saying that meeting the requirements of the business is a top challenge for dev managers. We also see this notion of user experience and it broadening beyond just UI UX to total experience in terms of how the person uses the mobile application, so that it's not just about a nice looking UI, it's about helping the users speed and make the task that they're doing to do it in a more reliable fashion. The other thing that we see is there is a strong need to build in-house mobile competence. We talk to a lot of people that have outsourced their initial mobile approaches, and while that has led to mixed success, they also realize that they need to be able to do some of that in-house. I'm actually surprised by this figure that 60%, 66% felt that they had the current resources to meet the mobility needs, but we're seeing a different figure based on whether you talk to IT, who feels they can deliver, and the business, who feels that maybe they can't. So in either case, being able to draw the right mix of what you're doing inside and outside is an important factor for organizations. The other thing that we see very commonly is that mobilizing enterprise data is a challenge. So as you know, when you build new applications, very rarely is a new application in isolation. Typically, if it's going to be used and if it's going to be an enterprise app that provides great value, it's going to integrate with many back-end systems. So integrating that data is a top challenge. Not only is integration in the context of building a web app difficult, it's even more difficult in terms of the context of mobile because you need that back-end infrastructure that allows you in a service-oriented fashion to be able to bring data together from multiple sources. Sources that might be varied across on-premise data centers as well as different cloud data centers. So before we jump into what we provide in terms of helping people rapidly build and manage mobile applications, it's probably a good thing to kind of think about where you guys are in this journey, right? And we can kind of look at this journey in three different ways. Where you stand in terms of your capabilities, in terms of development capabilities, where you stand in terms of how you approach the user experience, and where you stand in terms of how long it takes you to deploy a application. And you're probably somewhere on this curve. Not too many people that we talk to in this early phase of using mobile are completely competent in terms of being able to have the resources they need to build applications, especially if they're trying to build native applications. So some people are kind of in the middle where maybe they've outsourced some of their customer-facing critical applications to a design agency and they're trying to transition that so that they have some of that expertise internally. From a UI point of view, we talked about how it's not just UI, it's really complete user experience. And so, kind of runs the gamut from people who don't think much about the UI in terms of mobile. Maybe they just take existing web applications and just throw them onto a mobile device. Then there are people that are more thoughtful and are thinking about kind of UI in the context of mobile. And then there are organizations that really think about the entire user experience, not just in terms of the UI, but how they consume the application, how they update the application, and how that works across all the different channels or all the different devices that a user would use to interact with the system. And then there's this notion of how long it takes to build the apps. Obviously, organizations that take multiple months, 6 to 12 months, are really hurting, quite frankly. Because now with this notion of kind of throwaway or disposable applications where you want to be able to leverage a system of record or more of a traditional application, but put a front end on it or an application that is time sensitive or is built for a specific event, you want to be able to do that much more quickly. So being able to kind of move up in terms of your competency to deliver those applications very quickly is very important in today's world. So our proposal is that organizations need to switch to a faster, user-driven mode of application delivery. And quite frankly, this cuts across any type of application that you're delivering or any type of service that IT is delivering to the user community. But we'll talk about this primarily in the context of mobile applications today. So in the theme of this webinar, we've kind of leveraged this enterprise mobility kind of unshackled approach. And we use that because a lot of people that we talk to want to get away from kind of a heavy-handed enterprise mobility or enterprise development approach, right? They don't want to bring in a major consulting organization, or they don't want to rely on a large vendor who is an advocate of a very structured center of excellence, hiring a mobility officer, coming in with a 2 or 3 year plan. All of that is overkill for what we believe is a faster way to build applications. And so that's this notion of unshackling kind of for larger organizations or medium-sized organizations who need a lot of mobile applications that will be used by a lot of different users, just being able to unshackle that approach so things can get done very quickly. From our heritage, it all started with the developer. Most of you know Telerik quite well. You know that we have been maniacally focused on what we have done to help developers be more productive, whether that's building desktop apps, web apps, whether that's helping them manage the application lifecycle more effectively. It's all about making sure that the developer can very rapidly build applications, compelling, beautiful applications that will exceed the needs of their users. And we've done that over the last year in the context of mobile with the Telerik platform, while we have allowed them to shorten the amount of time it takes to build applications by providing them the services they need to actually do that very quickly, to allow them to build in a lean and iterative fashion by providing a platform that provides end-to-end support from design to development to testing to deployment and maintenance, but to do that in a modular fashion so that if they have other tools of their choice, that those tools can be used in the context of our overall life cycle approach. And then finally, leveraging 10 plus years of great UI and UX experience and building that into the ability to quickly build applications, mobile in nature, is what we've, the bedrock of our foundation for the developer is what we've done in terms of being able to help them with mobile applications. And we've had, astounding success based on, our partnering with customers such as yourself to actually build applications. So, over the last year, we have introduced a lot of new capabilities in terms of what we refer to as cloud modules. We are approaching, the billion in terms of number of API calls that have leveraged our backend services. We have applications that are being used by hundreds of thousands of users and thousands of customers, and over 23,000 applications built with the Telerik platform. So on that base, we're excited to talk about what we've referred to as kind of the enterprise version of the Telerik platform. And leveraging that developer productivity, what we've really focused on is to add this element of business engagement and data enablement. So the business engagement is all about how to more effectively bring the business participant into the development process, whether that's a citizen developer or a business analyst or someone who's very aware of the business process and the data model, to more effectively allow them to participate in the development process. So we'll talk about what we're doing there. And then obviously on the data enablement side, we talked about that's a big challenge for a lot of organizations to be able to build mobile applications and integrate them into their existing systems. So, the combination of developer productivity and allowing the business to engage effectively and to build applications that integrate effectively with data and systems is what we believe leads to enterprise mobility success. So this is all based on this very strong foundation, a very rich, robust Telerik platform that at the bottom of this diagram kind of shows you the different platform services, that ability to integrate with data, the ability to, manage messaging and social interaction and user and security, and in addition to be able to analyze how applications are being used and connect directly with your users to get feedback so that you can optimize and improve the application. On top of that is this rich set of application development tools that span the entire life cycle that can be augmented with any third-party tools or libraries that you choose to bring into the development process. That all enables you to build a collection of different mobile applications based on the needs of the user and the application itself, whether you feel a web-style application for mobile is appropriate, or a hybrid application using Cordova, or ultimately being able to build native applications that provide the best possible experience for each different device without having to write native code for each device. So that's the overall picture of what we provide in terms of the platform. Some of the new capabilities that we're going to talk about today is this notion of being able to build applications in a GUI style fashion. So we've introduced Screen Builder, which allows a GUI style developer or even a business analyst to actually stitch together the starting point for applications. In addition, LiveSync provides the ability to actually deploy applications very quickly, or to deploy changes to applications more correctly very quickly. And then we already talked about data connectors. We'll talk about this notion of offline data sync. If your users are in a zone where they don't have good connectivity, obviously I want to be able to continue using that mobile application and to synchronize later. We've also done a number of things with application templates and made that available in the mobile marketplace. And then finally, we know that there's not only one way to deploy an application, that you need the flexibility of being able to deploy it on-premise or in a public cloud. So I mentioned this complete notion of an application lifecycle from design to build to test, connect, deploy, manage, and measure. Some of that you're going to see in the demo that John Bristow is going to do a little bit later. But before we get into the demo, I'm going to quickly walk you through the new capabilities that are most appropriate for enterprise applications. We talked about this notion of business engagement, and we've introduced this concept or an application module called the Screen Builder, which works very effectively with our application builder, and it engages business very early in the process. So this notion of low code, or model-driven approach is really what we're after here. So you're using a visual metaphor to actually build that screen. You're basically using a scaffolding approach to be able to drag and drop different types of screen onto your mobile application, and then you connect it back up to what's going on in the back end. So John will show that in the demo today. And what's nice about that is not only can you use that visual approach to kind of build the graphical part of it, but you can very easily connect to those back-end systems that I talked about using a configuration style approach to actually doing that versus having to write a lot of code. And we'll talk about this more in detail, but we've greatly expanded the number of data sources and applications that we can connect to based on the fact that Progress also is the owner of DataDirect. And so DataDirect, which is the preeminent data connectivity provider, has a plethora of different choices to connect to, and we'll talk about what this allows us to do in the context of building mobile applications. The other thing that we have done to facilitate better business engagement between IT and the business is this notion of live sync. So once you have deployed the application initially, which we support that through our App Manager capability and have done that for a long time in a way that you can deploy it in an app store or a private app store, then once you've done that, what we've seen is this demand for being able to kind of push updates without republishing the application, without forcing the user to go back into the App Store and download and update the entire application. So we have removed the application store dependency for changes that relate to the application. The updates can be pushed automatically, and there's a very nice, seamless user experience in terms of how the user actually does that. But it works well for organizations because it makes sure that people stay up to date with the latest version, and it makes it very easy for the consumer or the user to actually get the latest application. Another thing that we've done as part of that business engagement is to provide rich analytics and feedback so that in real time you're getting user feedback. You can communicate with the user. They can tell you what they like or dislike about the application, and you can respond back to them. You get information about how the application is being used so that you can determine which features are used the most and which ones are not, where you want to invest your time and your money in terms of further developments. And you get information about crash reporting and also about what devices are being used as well. So very comprehensive information that helps you optimize that application once you've quickly built it and deployed it. Another exciting development that we have delivered recently is this notion of NativeScript. We introduced this previously where we kind of talked about, there's basically three ways to build applications. You can take a web-based approach, so you have kind of a web mobile approach. You can take a hybrid approach, which uses a container technology to interact with the different devices. And finally, if you need a very robust device-specific application, which we're seeing more and more of a demand for that, even for internal applications, because that's what users expect. They want to have a great experience based on whether they're an Android user, a Windows user, or a Mac user. So this notion of being able to do that with one development approach that cuts across all different devices is very, very important, and that's what we've tackled with this notion of NativeScript. That NativeScript capability leverages, a very common and popular application development language such as JavaScript. So you're basically building truly native applications with pure JavaScript. We allow you to have 100% access to the native APIs. We allow you to build native UI that is also 100% tied to the native UI. And we have open sourced NativeScript so that you can use it, you can enhance it, and then from a platform point of view, we have integrated NativeScript very nicely into everything that we've done in terms of the Telerik platform. So the true value of NativeScript is realized once you leverage it and tie it together with the Telerik platform. Finally, this notion of being able to kind of go from a code to a low code to a no code approach. This is something that we see that's very common in today's world, where organizations are making this transition. It's not like a full force transition where everybody's doing this, but maybe some developers within the organization, or this approach of being able to leverage the business user more effectively. There's a need for different ways to build applications based on the development skill sets that you have and the needs of the application. So it's nice to know that the Telerik platform provides you the option of being able to do any one of these three different approaches, and to do that very effectively, to be able to write code very efficiently and to manage that code efficiently, to use visual development to actually construct your screens visually, and then to get to the point where we actually use templates to really facilitate and speed that application development process. So the development angle is only part of it, right? So not only do you want to be able to build the application fast, but you have a lot to do in terms of the back end, right? If you have a great development environment, but you don't have the right production support for the back end, then you're not going to be able to deploy an enterprise class application that can be used effectively and supported the way it needs to be. So clearly a big focus for us in terms of what we've done with our mobile backend as a service capability is to provide the ability to connect to data sources and applications. We also provide the ability to synchronize application data if your user is outside of a network connection, and the ability to provide messaging and user management and authentication. Those are some of the elements that we provide in terms of those back-end services. One of the most important is our ability to connect to all of those different data sources that you have in your organization. And you know as well as I do that we've long since moved away from just one type of database such as relational, that we now have XML data, we have relational data, we have different types of SaaS applications. We now have new SQL, NoSQL, big data databases, and these custom applications that you maybe have created. So Data Direct provides the ability to connect to all of that data. So we've integrated Data Direct into the Telerik platform so that it makes it very easy for you to build mobile applications that access a back-end service that then link or connect back to these data sources regardless of where they reside in terms of on-premise or in the cloud. The other thing that's very important is the ability to quickly leverage templates or plugins. And so we've created a rich ecosystem of components for mobile, and we've launched that in this context of the new Telerik Mobile Marketplace. And so over time, we'll be adding to that. Customers can add to that as well. And it's an expanding ecosystem that has not only verified plugins for Cordova, but also new plugins for NativeScript as well. Here is a few examples of the types of templates and accelerators that are going to be included in that marketplace. And so I just encourage you to take a look at that and to start contributing and being an active participant in the community. The other thing that's very important to enterprises or to anybody who's deploying an application that is a critical application is this notion of being able to have deployment flexibility. We all know that depending on the application, there may be different sensitivities. So based on the security profile, data, residency and privacy issues, or regulatory concerns, you have the deployment flexibility of deploying in any way, shape, or fashion in terms of how you leverage your mobile applications. So that's a lot of information to consume, but I think it's really important to be able to kind of see this in action. And so today we've got John Bristow, who is going to share a demo and walk you through some of the capabilities that I mentioned. The other thing to note is, while I've gone through this information quickly, there's a wealth of information on the website that can give you more information about these different features and capabilities.
Thanks, Mark. Hello, everyone. I'd like to spend the next few minutes highlighting just a few of the great new features we have for our enterprise customers of the Telerik platform. For the purposes of this demo, I'll be using our Quantum example site, which is built on Sitefinity, our award-winning CMS for ASP.NET. Quantum is a large retailer of computers and computer accessories across 37 stores in the US and Europe, and they are looking to use the Telerik platform to expand their reach to mobile customers. They've been leveraging Sitefinity's fantastic support for building mobile experiences through a responsive web design. Now they're ready to build a mobile app. Let's see how we can do this with the Telerik platform. Here's the web environment for the Telerik platform. From this single location, I can access projects, create and deploy applications, connect to backend systems and services, collect app analytics and feedback, and a whole lot more. Let's start by creating an app for Quantum. We're asked what kind of app we wish to create. Telerik Platform supports the creation of native, hybrid, and mobile web apps. Native apps are built using an incredibly exciting technology we've built called NativeScript, which you can check out by visiting nativescript.org. Here, I'll choose to create a hybrid app. Next, we're asked to select a starting point. I can choose to start from scratch with a blank app, or I can use a sample app that we include with the Telerik platform. In this instance, I'm going to start by building my app with Screen Builder, one of our latest innovations to the Telerik platform. I'll talk more about this tool in a minute. Finally, I'm asked if I wish to connect my new app to data available through Telerik Backend services. I'll choose to create a new Backend services project. Let's go ahead and create the app. At this point, Telerik Platform is provisioning an environment and setting up my backend services project. This is Screen Builder, one of our latest additions to the Telerik platform. With this tool, I can create views for my app, alter its navigation, connect to backend data, and tailor themes. Let's start by adding a new view. As you can see, Screen Builder comes with common views built in. Let's start by creating a sign-in for my Quantum app. This view will authenticate users to Telerik backend services. I can also authenticate to other OAuth providers such as Facebook, Twitter, and more, as we'll see later on. I'll assume the default and click Apply. Screen Builder will generate the app, and now I have a sign-in that will authenticate to my backend. Next, I'll create a registration view for new users of the Quantum app. This view will collect credentials from users. I'll also choose to add a sign-in link to the view, so to provide a means of going back in the navigation. Clicking Apply will regenerate the app again. Now I have a registration view for new users. Now, I'll go back to the sign-in view and add a link for the new registration page. This will enable new users to register themselves from the start. And finally, I'll set the starting page of my app to be the sign-in view, so to ensure that users authenticate themselves before accessing any data. By the way, I should point out that everything you see on the right-hand side is the app itself. It's interactive, which means I can use the screens I've already generated. I should also point out that Screen Builder doesn't live in a silo where you can't customize the app that's generated. In fact, You'll notice I can also open this app inside of App Builder to access the project, including the source files, images, and other assets. App Builder is our code-first environment for building mobile apps. From here, I can also generate builds and deploy the app. We'll take a look at this later. Let's jump back into Screen Builder and talk about connecting data. Enterprise environments can be complex. Quantum is no exception. They have data residing in external databases and systems that they want exposed through our mobile app. As Mark stated earlier, mobilizing enterprise data can be quite a challenge. However, with Telerik Backend Services and Screen Builder, getting your data out of the enterprise and into a mobile app is easy. In Screen Builder, I can leverage enterprise data through a number of data providers. These connect to my enterprise backend and provide offline support out of the box. To set this up, I need to create a new data connector. Let's jump over to Telerik Backend Services to see how this works. Telerik Backend Services is our enterprise mobile backend as a service offering that enables you to quickly light up and support capabilities found common in mobile apps, including data and file storage, push notifications, user management, hosted code, emails, and more. For our enterprise customers, we have added a new capability called Data Connectors that enables you to quickly consume and expose data from external systems and databases into your mobile app. Let's connect data from Quantum's infrastructure. I'll start by creating a new data connector. Data connectors communicate with data link servers to surface data through Telerik Backend Services. I'll set up a new one. Out of the box, we support the most popular databases found in organizations today, including SQL Server, MySQL, Oracle, and others. Once established, the next step is to create a data connector to communicate with my backend data. Now, with Quantum, they utilize SQL Server, so I'll go ahead and establish a new connection to the data link server that I've already created. For the interest of time, I'll go ahead and jump over to another window where I've already set this up. Here's my data connector. Let's take a look at some of the data that I can consume. Content types are like tables. In this instance, I'm consuming data from SQL Server that's exposed through the data connector. Here's a listing of stores for Quantum. Now that I have access to this data, let's see how I can consume it from within App Builder. I'll start by adding a new provider for the Quantum project. This will regenerate the app. Next, I'll add a view for the stores, offices, and products that Quantum has. Let's set the heading for this view to be Stores, since that's what I'll be displaying. I'll switch the provider to use the data from Quantum. I'll then set the image, heading text, and subheading text fields to reflect those columns in my table. Let's click Apply and see what's generated. I can also indicate that I'd like a master detail view that will show the individual stores. I'll set the heading text, description, and image fields. Finally, I can set a number of configuration properties to the data list, such as a pull to refresh feature, load on demand, filtering, and grouping. Screen Builder will regenerate the app and display my list of stores. And there you go. If I click on one of these stores, I'm taken to the master detail view, showing me the individual store itself. Now, the thing to remember here is that this data is coming from my backend infrastructure. Leveraging the data connectors in Telerik Backend Services, I can now easily front data from databases such as SQL Server, MySQL, and Oracle to mobile apps like this one. We'll now take a look at a few of the latest features we've added for our enterprise customers. First up is App Manager Live Sync. To explain how this works, I'll start by jumping into App Builder. App Builder is our code-first environment for coding, managing source files and version control, testing through our built-in simulators, and managing project properties, builds, and deployments. This is where developers will spend most of their time building apps. Here, I've gone ahead and built my app for Quantum, and now I'm ready to share it with the members of my organization. In the Publish menu, you'll notice that I have the option to publish directly to app stores. This includes Telerik App Manager, which you can think of as like your own private app store. Rather than publishing your app publicly to app stores, you can choose to deploy your apps through App Manager, giving you total control. Now, earlier on, Mark talked about business engagement when building mobile apps. One of the success factors tied to this idea is the ability to deliver app updates to users continuously. If you talk to developers, they'll tell you what a nightmare this can be. In the case of Quantum, they want to be able to make changes, deploy, and go. That's where App Manager LiveSync comes in. App Manager LiveSync is a Telerik Platform distribution service that lets you quickly deliver updates and bug fixes to an already published app without the need to rebuild and resubmit the application package for review in the app stores. You can distribute an update for any App Manager LiveSync enabled app that is already live in App Manager, Google Play, the Apple App Store, or the Windows Phone Store. I'll select the provisioning profile and click Publish. Here, Telerik Platform will take the Quantum project and build it using our remote build servers. With this build service, I don't need to install Xcode, Visual Studio, or Eclipse. Telerik Platform takes care of this for me. Now that the build is complete, let's jump over to App Manager and see how to manage the app's deployment. This is App Manager. From here, I can control how my apps are deployed and to which users and groups in my organization. Here's my app for Quantum. I've assigned this app to the testers group, and one member has gone ahead and already installed it. Let's jump back to App Builder for a moment. One of the challenges with mobile app development is getting updates to users. Builds can take time, you have approval processes to go through, it can be a big pain. With App Manager LiveSync, I can now push updates directly to my users. Here in my sign-in screen, I'm going to make a minor change to the tagline of my application. I'll save this and now push out this update through App Manager LiveSync. Once published, if I as a user now navigate into the app I built for Quantum, you'll notice that I'm presented with a dialog asking me if I wish to download the latest patch. The update will download, and now my users are running with the latest changes on their own devices. It's really that simple with Telerik App Manager LiveSync, and it's a feature I know that our enterprise customers will love because it will save them so much time getting app updates deployed. Now that my app has been published and is being used, I need to address another requirement surrounding business engagement, analytics, and feedback. These two go hand in hand because in the world of mobile app development, users and the data they generate from usage are worth their weight in gold. They enable you as developers to focus on features that users want that's often underscored with analytics. The Telerik platform provides you with the capability to capture and track both app analytics and feedback quickly and easily. Let's see how this works. I'll start by navigating back to App Builder. Inside my project properties, there's a section for managing plugins. Notice here, I've enabled the plugins for Telerik Analytics and Telerik App Feedback. With these two plugins enabled, I can integrate them into my app through these calls to feedback.initialize and analytics.start. That's all that's required. Now that these are enabled, I can go back into my app for Quantum and start providing feedback. I'll sign in with my credentials, which will then navigate me over to the Stores tab of my app. Now, let's say I might want to have a grouping capability for my data list here. Well, with Telerik App Feedback enabled, I can simply shake my phone and get this dialog to display. This is Telerik App Feedback. Okay, so I want to send feedback, so let's tap this. App Feedback will take a screenshot of where I am currently and give me a place where I can provide that feedback. So I'll tap here, and let the development team know that I'd like to have the ability to group items by country and state. When I tap Send, my feedback is then posted to Telerik Platform. Let's take a look. Here you can see I have some feedback already. Let's go into app feedback. There's the feedback I just sent. Notice that I get the same screenshot and comment from the user. I can assign this feedback to someone on my team or mark it as resolved. With Telerik App Feedback, your users are now able to provide their feedback from where it makes sense, in the app itself. Now, let's jump back to the project page and see what Telerik Analytics has tracked for me. As you can see, this app has already been used by a few folks. Jumping into Telerik Analytics takes me to the following dashboard. On the left are a list of categories that allow me to drill down into the data. I can see things like when my app was used, what platforms it was used on, and so on. I can also see things like what features of my app were used most. I can also get a list of exceptions that may have occurred in the app itself. This allows my development team to be proactive when fixing bugs. They don't have to wait for an angry phone call or email from a customer before knowing that there's a problem. With Telerik Analytics, I can see real-world usage of the app and get insights into the who, where, what, how, and why folks are using it. Finally, let's talk about testing. Now, as many of you know, mobile app testing is a terribly difficult challenge. Not only do you have to contend with the different form factors, you have different operating systems and configurations as well. Telerik Platform has a fantastic capability for testing your mobile apps that will greatly simplify the lives of your QA folks. Let's navigate over to the test portal of Telerik Platform. On the left-hand side of my screen, I can create test runs for the various projects that I have. These test runs allow me to test out the various parts of my application, ensuring that the parts of my app work the way that they should. Let's create a new run for my Quantum app. I'll select the Quantum app. I've already gone ahead and written a series of tests to validate the registration process. Now, I want to run my tests, but maybe I don't have a ton of devices laying around to test against. Check this out. Down here, I can execute my tests against a set of device lists that I've already set up. These are devices that we make available for you to execute your tests against. And there's a lot to test against, believe me. For this test, I'll execute against this list I have called Apple. Notice that I can be notified by email when the test run is complete. When I click on Submit, my app is built remotely with the Telerik platform and deployed to the device list I chose earlier. Now, this can take a little bit of time, so let me jump over to this window to show you a previous run I performed. Here you can see the tests that I ran earlier. These tests were executed against a series of cloud devices that I picked. You can see screenshots and the test results for each step. Speaking of cloud devices, let me show you the kinds of devices you can test against. I'll create a new device list called Quantum and bring up the list of devices. Here, I can pick and choose the remote devices I wish to use for my tests. It's pretty slick. I should also mention here that you don't have to use the cloud devices we provide here if you don't wish. You can download and install the Telerik mobile testing app onto your device if you wish to test locally. It's very easy to set up. Well, that just about wraps it up for me. I hope you're feeling as excited as I am about these great new capabilities we've added to the Telerik platform for our enterprise customers. I believe these features will enable organizations to be tremendously successful delivering mobile apps to users. Mark, back over to you. Thanks.
Okay, so let me wrap up what you've seen in terms of the demo and what you've seen in terms of the slides that we've talked about. What we feel is very important from a Telerik platform perspective is that user experience. So we have drawn on the development heritage that we have had over the last 10 years to build applications that are very effective and beautiful experience for the user. We've done that in a way that will allow you to effectively engage with the business users by allowing them to leverage a low-code or no-code approach to be active participants in the development environment. And we've simplified the ability to integrate your application, your new mobile application, into your existing infrastructure, whether it's connecting to data or to back-end systems. That flexibility that supports those is key, and that's really what we feel is necessary for that complete mobile development, all cloud-based, so that you have the ability to kind of scale up as your usage increases with your mobile applications. So we're going to share a customer story with you. Mike from Keyson Technologies has a great story, so I'm not going to set it up very much. I'm just going to let him tell you about that story, and I think you'll enjoy this because it shows the power of what can be done with the Telerik platform.
At Kaizen, my team works with small organizations and large businesses to help them innovate by developing custom software solutions. One of the challenges for developing on mobile platforms is learning the different platforms. With iOS, you have to learn Objective-C or Swift. With Android, you need to learn Java. With Windows Phone, you need to learn C#, XAML. You have to develop a solution for each platform. Developing responsive, cross-platform hybrid mobile applications is difficult. Telerik Platform has enabled our business to expand into mobile development without spending a lot of time and resources on training new technologies. So we're able to leverage existing technologies such as HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS expertise we have and develop for the mobile platforms. We've created a new business model and business engagement process using Telerik Platform. We'll first start with a client on an envisioning session where we have a user experience designer help work with clients to realize their ideas and turn those ideas around directly into a sample application almost immediately within 1 or 2 hours. Our development team and user experience team has used Telerik Screen Builder to help us mock up and provide interactive user experiences with mobile solutions before we deliver them directly to customers. After that, we can take the work already done by our user experience designers using Telerik Platform and develop the actual working software product in 1 to 2 weeks. As users begin to start using the application, we can monitor user statistics, what features are being used, what features aren't being used, where we might need to improve user experience to entice users to interact more with those mobile applications. Telerik NativeScript allows us to build once in that same fashion, but target native development and iOS, Android, and Windows Phone environments. With Telerik's platform and Telerik's NativeScript, we've been able to target multiple platforms at once and reduce development time by approximately 60%. We're able to deploy to multiple platforms in a very seamless and streamlined manner. And that management and deployment time is reduced by as much as 80% for us. Code runs fast, it runs across all platforms, it's dependable, and it just works. Leveraging Telerik technology allows us to be more productive and provide more business value to our customers.
Now that you've seen or heard that customer story, it's also important to note that we have had success with thousands of enterprise developers. Here's a snapshot of them, and if you look on our website, you'll see a lot of information about the types of applications and the type of success that they've had in terms of building applications with the Telerik platform. And we've also done a lot of work to expand our partner ecosystem, whether it's through certification so that you can run the infrastructure on HP Helion, or whether it's partnering with the MDM vendors so that you can use a more sophisticated way to manage your applications, or whether it's providing you with service partners to help you quickly build and deploy those applications. That ecosystem has expanded greatly and will continue to expand as we move forward. The other thing I want to briefly touch on is progress in Telerik. We talked about how Telerik has this rich history of working with developers, and that is the same as progress. And so the marriage of progress and Telerik provides a lot of different capabilities and solutions that you guys can use. And I want to kind of show that in the context of how that ties back to mobile. So with Progress and Telerik, we provide you the foundation for digital business. We allow you to build applications. We allow our partners to build applications that you can use. And we deliver applications as well, especially in the context of digital commerce and marketing automation. We realize that developing and deploying those applications can't be done with one approach. So we provide a low-code RAD-style approach for building cloud applications. The Telerik platform is obviously our solution for that full lifecycle mobile development environments. We also provide for organizations that are using a code-centric approach to building applications with Node.js or with Java, PHP, and Perl, or anything that can be containerized within Docker, the ability to easily deploy, manage, and monitor applications in the cloud. And then finally, we know it's not just about applications. We know that websites are critical to the functioning of an enterprise, and so the ability to manage high-fidelity websites and to help marketing organizations more effectively communicate and engage their customers. We do that on top of this beautiful user experience that that Telerik brings to the table in terms of rich UX toolbox and UI widgets. All of our applications and our solutions provide the ability to leverage complex or sophisticated rules, and we provide analytics and reporting across each one of those different solutions, which we talked about in the context of the Telerik platform. We clearly allow you to connect to data and integrate with any cloud or on-premise data source, and we allow you to do this in a flexible fashion so that you can deploy those applications on your public infrastructure or the public infrastructure or your own private or some hybrid implementation. And on top of that, complete lifecycle management in terms of being able to build and test mobile and web and desktop applications. So those capabilities are very immense, and so we have a variety of different technology or product names that actually tie to that. But I would encourage you that if you have needs for things outside of mobile, which in many cases we see mobile tied into other projects, that we probably have some solutions that can help you do the job in a variety of different areas. So just a reminder, we have these great prizes that if you ask really good questions, which we typically get a lot of questions, that you will be in the drawing for one of these great prizes. So with that, we hope that you enjoyed the session today, and we hope that you jump on this journey with us so that you can reimagine how you go to market in terms of your enterprise mobility approach. So as a follow-up action, we have a wealth of information that's available on the Telerik.com website, but most importantly, we're offering you the ability to engage with us with a custom demonstration. We know, as I talked about, that the need for organizations changes, that it's not the same for every organization. Not every organization is the same. Not every application is the same. And so we would like to sit down with you, walk you through how the Telerik platform can help your specific needs, understand your specific needs, and help you jumpstart some of your mobile application development. So if you're interested in that or in any other conversation with our technical experts, then please send us a note at enterprisesales@telerik.com. So with that, we're going to open it up for questions, and I want to thank you for your time and participation today. Thank you.